The summer sun poured through the window of my bedroom, casting a warm glow that felt like a promise of adventures yet to come. I hadn't seen Jake in years, but the excitement of having my cousin stay with us brought a rush of nostalgia. We had spent countless summers together as kids, climbing trees and creating secret hideouts in the woods behind our houses. Now, as a high school junior, I was eager to rekindle those memories and make new ones. "Remember that time we built that fort out of old sheets?" I asked, laughing as I shifted through a box of old photos. Jake sat beside me on the bed, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "Oh, God. I think I still have a scar from when you pushed me out the window," he chuckled, teasingly nudging my shoulder. I could feel the warmth of his presence, almost electric, as he leaned closer to examine a photo. His tousled brown hair fell over his forehead, and for a moment, I lost myself in the chocolate brown depths of his eyes. "Yeah, well, you wouldn't stop throwing water balloons at me." I shot back playfully, a smile spreading across my face. Our laughter filled the room, a sweet reminder of the bond we had once shared. As the afternoon wore on, we decided to explore the old haunts we had frequented as kids. The air outside was thick with the scent of summer, and we wandered through the neighborhood, recounting our childhood escapades. Each corner we turned seemed to awaken memories of laughter and mischief. We ended up at the park, where we had spent countless hours playing on the swings and sliding down the slides. "Do you think we could still fit on those swings?" Jake asked, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Let's find out," I replied, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and nostalgia. We sprinted to the swings, and as I settled into one, the familiar creak of metal beneath me made me feel like a kid again. "Push me," I laughed, and Jake obliged, sending me soaring higher into the air. The wind whipped through my hair, and I felt invincible until I glanced over at him, his gaze intense and focused. It was as if he were studying me, but I shook the thought away, attributing it to the warmth of the day. That evening, as shadows fell and the stars began to twinkle, we returned to my room. We sprawled out on my bed, surrounded by the remnants of our childhood, old toys, books, and the lingering scent of summer. The atmosphere was charged with an unspoken tension, a current I couldn't quite identify. "Do you remember how we used to tell ghost stories?" Jake asked, breaking the silence. "Yeah, and you would always scream at the scariest parts," I teased, nudging him playfully. "Only because you would jump and scare me," he retorted, laughing. As the night deepened, our laughter faded into comfortable silence. I could feel the weight of his gaze on me, a heat that made my heart race. Our eyes locked, and in that moment, everything shifted. The world outside faded away, leaving just the two of us suspended in time. "Emily," he began, his voice low and serious. My breath caught in my throat as I felt his warmth drawing closer. Before I could process what was happening, he leaned in and kissed me. It was sudden, unexpected, and everything within me surged, a whirlwind of confusion and exhilaration. I pulled back, my heart pounding. "Jake, what just happened?" I whispered, my mind racing to catch up with my emotions. He looked at me, his eyes wide with uncertainty. I don't know. I just felt like I had to. "Yeah, but this changes everything," I stammered, caught between a rush of emotions, thrill, confusion, fear. I wanted to feel the thrill of the kiss again, yet the weight of reality pressed down on me. "I didn't mean to make things weird," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Weird? This is definitely weird," I said, a nervous laugh escaping my lips, masking the tumult of feelings swirling inside me. As I stared into his eyes, I knew this summer would be anything but ordinary. I pulled away from Jake, my heart racing as a whirlwind of emotions crashed over me. The kiss had felt electric, yet a deep confusion settled in my gut. I could see the look in his eyes. He was still leaning in, searching my face for some kind of answer. "Emily, wait," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. I shook my head, trying to catch my breath. I need to think," I stammered, my mind racing. I felt the heat rising to my cheeks, a mix of embarrassment and something deeper that terrified me. I could hardly believe what had just happened. "This isn't right," I whispered, backing away from him. "Please, just let me explain," he pleaded, his brow furrowed with concern. "I didn't mean to—" "Jake, you don't understand," I interrupted, my voice rising slightly. "This changes everything. We're cousins, and I don't know what this means." He looked pained, and for a moment, I felt a pang of guilt for making him look that way. "I know it's complicated, but I can't help how I feel. I thought maybe you felt the same?" His eyes searched mine, filled with a vulnerability that made my heart ache. "I don't know, Jake," I exclaimed, my emotions spilling over. "I don't know how I feel right now. I just need some space to figure this out." He nodded slowly, looking defeated. "Okay, I understand. Take your time. I'll be here when you're ready." The weight of his words hung in the air as I slipped out of my room, feeling like I was stepping into a different world. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy heart. I avoided looking at Jake during breakfast, focusing on my cereal as if it held the answers to my confusion. My mind replayed the kiss, the way his lips felt against mine, the way my heart raced in a way I had never experienced before. Guilt washed over me like a tide. I felt like I was betraying my family, my mother, who had always emphasized the importance of family bonds. After breakfast, I decided to call my best friend, Sarah. I needed someone to talk to, someone who could help me make sense of my jumbled thoughts. "Hey, Sarah, can we meet up?" "I really need to talk," I said, my voice shaky. "Of course. I'll be at the park in 10, she replied, her tone instantly encouraging. As I walked to the park, I felt a mix of anxiety and relief. I found Sarah sitting on a bench, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders as she waved me over. "What's going on?" she asked, her expression shifting to concern as I sat down. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Jake kissed me last night," I blurted out, the words tumbling out of my mouth before I could think. Her eyes widened. "What? Wow. That's intense. How do you feel about it?" "I don't know. It was amazing and terrifying all at once. I mean, he's my cousin, and I feel guilty even thinking about it. But part of me liked it," I admitted, my cheeks flushing. "Emily, you're allowed to feel what you feel. Just because he's your cousin doesn't mean you can't have feelings for him. But you need to figure out what you want," she said, her voice steady and reassuring. "I just don't want to ruin our families," I said, my voice faltering. "What if they find out? What if this tears everyone apart? Then you'll deal with it when it comes. Right now, focus on you. What do you want?" She pressed, her gaze unwavering. I sighed, feeling the weight of her question press down on me. As I pondered her words, I caught a glimpse of Jake in the distance, leaning against a tree, his expression lost in thought. My heart ached for him, and I realized that avoiding him wasn't going to make things easier. Meanwhile, Jake was also struggling with his feelings. He had given me space, but his heart felt heavy with regret. He watched me from afar, wishing he could bridge the distance between us. "Why did I let this happen?" he muttered to himself, kicking at the dirt beneath his feet. As I left the park, I glanced back at him, our eyes meeting for a brief moment. I felt a flutter in my chest. Part of me wanted to run back and talk to him, but fear held me in place. We were caught in this complicated web of emotions. And as the summer stretched ahead of us, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. As the days passed, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The kiss with Jake echoed in my mind, replaying over and over like a popular song stuck on repeat. I would glance at him from across the room, my heart racing, and then quickly look away, pretending to be engrossed in whatever book or game was nearby. But the truth was, I was anything but normal. I often daydreamed about that moment. The warmth of his lips against mine, the way he hesitated just before leaning in, as if he was giving me a chance to pull back. I never did. One afternoon, while sitting on the swing in the backyard, I watched the clouds drift lazily across the sky, trying to find clarity amidst the chaos in my heart. I had to admit to myself that the kiss had awakened something deep within me, a yearning that I had never fully acknowledged before. "What are you thinking about?" my cousin Sarah asked, approaching me with a curious look. I sighed, glancing at her. "Just stuff," I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Stuff? Or more like Jake's stuff," she teased, plopping down beside me. I felt my cheeks flush. "Maybe a little of both," I confessed, biting my lip. "Emily, you gotta figure this out. Are you into him, or what?" I hesitated. "I don't know, Sarah. It's complicated. He's my cousin." "Yeah, but that didn't stop him from kissing you, did it?" She shot back, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You have to talk to him. Otherwise, this tension is just going to keep building up." I wanted to scream, to tell her that I was scared. What if we talked and everything fell apart? What if I opened up and he didn't feel the same way? But I also felt this urge to confront my feelings, to understand what was happening between us. That evening, our families gathered for a barbecue in the backyard. The air was thick with the smell of grilled burgers and the sounds of laughter. I tried to immerse myself in the festivities, chatting with relatives, but my eyes kept drifting to Jake. He was standing by the grill, flipping burgers with an easy confidence that made my heart flutter. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned a deep shade of orange, I overheard my parents talking. "I heard they're planning the wedding for next summer," my mom said, and my heart sank. "Wedding?" My mind raced. Were they talking about merging our families? Yeah, can you imagine? The Thompsons and the Millers, all in one big happy family. My dad chuckled, but I could sense the seriousness in his tone. Suddenly, everything felt way too real. If our families merged, what did that mean for me and Jake? I could already imagine the awkwardness, the unspoken rules about what we could and couldn't do. I felt trapped, like I was in a cage built by my own feelings and the expectations of those around me. "Emily, you okay?" Jake's voice broke through my thoughts. I turned to see him standing beside me, concern etched on his face. "Yeah, just a little overwhelmed," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, his hazel eyes searching mine. "Want to get some air?" I hesitated, then nodded. We stepped away from the crowd, the sounds of laughter fading behind us. In the dim light of the backyard, we found a quiet corner where the shadows mingled with the glow of the string lights overhead. "About the kiss," I began, my heart racing. "Emily, Wait, let me finish," I interrupted, taking a deep breath. "I've been thinking about it a lot, and I don't know what it means for us. It's just complicated." "I know," he said softly, stepping closer. "But I can't help how I feel about you. It's been there for so long." His words sent a thrill down my spine, but the weight of our families loomed over us. "Jake, what if our families merge? What if this changes everything?" He looked pained. "I don't want to hide this. I don't want to pretend it didn't happen." "Then what do we do?" I asked, my voice trembling. He paused, searching for the right words. Maybe we keep it a secret for now, just until we figure it all out." I nodded slowly, the tension between us palpable. A part of me was relieved, but another part felt the weight of our secret pressing down on me. I had no idea what the future held, but As I looked into Jake's eyes, I knew that whatever happened, we were in this together. As the summer days stretched on, I found solace in the stolen moments Jake and I shared. Each kiss was electric, igniting a fire within me that I had never experienced before. We would sneak away to our favorite spots, behind the old oak tree, down by the creek, and even the attic of my grandmother's house. It felt like we were living in our own little world, hidden from prying eyes. But with every secret kiss, a shadow loomed over me, a gnawing fear that one day our world would come crashing down. One evening, after a particularly blissful afternoon spent at the lake, I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the day's events in my mind. The way Jake had smiled at me, the gentle touch of his fingers brushing against my skin, it all felt surreal. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A nagging suspicion tugged at my gut, whispering that Jake was hiding something. "Emily?" I heard Jake's voice from downstairs. "Can I come up?" "Yeah, come in." I called out, trying to sound cheerful despite the unease swirling within me. Jake opened the door, a soft smile gracing his lips. "I brought you something." He held out a small, wrapped package. "What is it?" I asked, raising an eyebrow with curiosity. "Open it and see," he replied, his eyes sparkling with mischief. I unwrapped the gift, revealing a delicate silver bracelet. "Jake, this is beautiful. Thank you." I felt a rush of warmth as I slipped it onto my wrist. "But you didn't have to." "I wanted to," he said, stepping closer. "You mean a lot to me." His words felt like both a comfort and a weight. "You mean a lot to me too," I admitted, biting my lip. But as the evening wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was holding back. I had noticed Jake's strange behavior lately. He would often step out to take calls, his expressions shifting from carefree to serious in an instant. I decided to confront him. "Jake, is everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual as we sat together on my bed, the tension in the air palpable. He hesitated, shifting his gaze to the floor. "Yeah, everything's fine. Just, summer stuff." "Summer stuff," I echoed, raising an eyebrow. "You've been acting weird. Are you sure there's nothing you're not telling me?" He opened his mouth as if to respond, but quickly closed it, his eyes darting away. "I promise it's nothing. Just some stuff with friends." The way he said it didn't sit right with me, and I felt a chill run down my spine. As the days passed, my suspicions grew stronger. I could no longer ignore the late-night texts I glimpsed from across the room, nor the hushed conversations that abruptly stopped whenever I entered the room. My heart raced at the thought that Jake might be hiding something from me, something that could change everything. One night, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. Jake had gone out with his friends, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts. The urge to know the truth consumed me. I crept into his room, heart pounding in my chest as I scanned the familiar space. It felt like a betrayal, but I needed to know. I rummaged through his desk, papers scattering under my fingers until I found a small envelope tucked away in the back. My breath caught in my throat as I opened it, revealing a letter that sent my heart plummeting. The words blurred together as I read them, but the message was clear. Jake had been involved with someone else. The letter spoke of secret meetings, shared moments, and a longing that felt all too real. "No," I whispered to myself, feeling the weight of betrayal settle heavily in my stomach. "This can't be happening." Just then, I heard footsteps approaching outside the door. Panic surged through me. I quickly stuffed the letter back into its hiding place and scrambled to make it look like nothing had happened. My heart raced as I prepared to face Jake, knowing that my world was about to shatter. I stood in my room, the letter crumpled in my trembling hands, my heart racing. The words "I can't wait to see you again" echoed in my mind like a haunting melody. I had discovered the letter tucked away in Jake's room, and it had shattered the fragile world I had been building around our secret. He had kissed me, and I had felt alive, but this felt like betrayal. I had to confront him. Jake, I called, my voice a mix of anger and heartbreak as I stormed into his room. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, his face pale when he saw me. We need to talk. Emily, wait, he began, but I cut him off. Don't Emily me. I found the letter. Jake. Who is she? I demanded, my hands clenched at my sides. The room felt smaller, the air thick with tension. Just let me explain, he said, his eyes darting away from mine. It was before we kissed, I swear. It didn't mean anything. Before we kissed? I hissed. How can you say that? You can't just act like it doesn't matter. You kissed me, Jake. You made me believe we had something special. My voice cracked and I fought back tears, but I refused to let him see my vulnerability. I know it looks bad, but you have to understand. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted, he stammered, running a hand through his hair in frustration. We were just having fun, and then everything changed. Changed? I repeated incredulously. You think I'm just going to forget about that? You were seeing someone else while you were with me. You lied to me, Jake. My heart felt like it was breaking apart, piece by piece. It was before. I didn't think it would turn into anything. I thought we were just cousins hanging out for the summer. He insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. Just cousins? Is that all I am to you? The question hung heavy in the air between us, and I could see the guilt wash over his features. You can't just kiss me and then pretend it was nothing. I can't do this anymore, Jake. Emily, please don't say that, he pleaded, standing up and stepping closer. I didn't mean to hurt you. I care about you. Caring isn't enough, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You've put me in a position where I feel like a fool. I trusted you. I turned away, wiping my eyes furiously. I can't be with someone who doesn't know what they want. After a long, agonizing silence, I felt his presence shift behind me. Emily, wait. I'll fix this. I'll break things off with her. Just give me a chance, he said, desperation lacing his words. I turned back to him, shaking my head. No, it's too late for that. I need to think. I need space. I stepped back, feeling the distance grow between us as I fought against the emotions swirling in my chest. Emily, please, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I can't lose you, but I was already walking away, the weight of his gaze on my back. I stumbled out of his room, my heart in turmoil. I needed to speak to someone, to make sense of the chaos in my mind. Sarah, I cried when I dialed my best friend's number. I need you. Now, when she arrived, I poured out everything. The kiss, the letter, the betrayal. I paced the room, my thoughts racing as I tried to articulate the pain that was consuming me. Emily, this is awful, Sarah said, her brow furrowing with concern. But you can't let him manipulate you like this. You deserve better. I thought we had something special, I murmured, feeling lost. How could he do this? People can be selfish, especially when emotions get involved, she replied, trying to comfort me. But you have to focus on yourself now. You have to heal. As the sun set outside, casting a warm glow in the room, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could move on, but Jake's face haunted my thoughts. Just as I thought I was starting to find clarity, the world around me shifted again. Days later, while I was out running errands with Sarah, I unexpectedly ran into Mia, Jake's new girlfriend. She was standing outside a coffee shop, her expression unreadable. Emily, she called out, and my heart sank. We exchanged awkward glances, and the air was thick with unspoken words. Hey, Mia, I said, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. I heard about you and Jake, Mia said, her tone surprisingly gentle. I just wanted to let you know that he's not who you think he is. What do you mean? I asked, my curiosity piqued despite my better judgment. There's a lot you don't know about him, she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. He can be manipulative. Trust me, I've seen it firsthand. I felt my chest tighten, and my mind raced with the implications of her words. What had Jake been hiding? As Mia continued, I realized that the pieces of this twisted puzzle were starting to align in ways I never anticipated. The sun hung low in the sky as I marched across the yard, determination fueling each step toward Jake's room. My heart pounded in my chest, fueled by a mixture of anger and betrayal that had been simmering since I ran into Mia. She had planted a seed of doubt in my mind, suggesting that Jake was more than a confused boy caught between two worlds. I felt like a puppet, strings tangled in a web of secrets, and I was done being manipulated. I threw open the door to Jake's room without knocking, my heart racing. He sat on the edge of his bed, his expression shifting from surprise to apprehension as he looked up at me. Emily, he asked, his voice laced with confusion. Don't Emily me. We need to talk. Now, I snapped, crossing my arms defiantly. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I could feel the tension crackling between us. What's wrong? He asked, rising to his feet, his eyes darting around the room, as if searching for a way out. Don't play dumb, Jake. I saw Mia today. She told me everything. I spat, my voice trembling with suppressed rage. She said you've been using her to push me away. Is that true? Jake's face fell, and he took a step closer, his hands raised in a placating gesture. Emily, please let me explain. It's not what it seems. Then what is it? I interrupted, my voice sharp. You kissed me, and then you went running to her? What was that all about? Was it all just a game to you? No, it wasn't a game, he insisted, desperation creeping into his tone. I never meant to hurt you. I thought if I dated Mia, it would make things easier. Easier? For who? I shot back, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. You think dating someone else would erase what we had? You think I'd just sit back and watch you be with someone who isn't me? His expression shifted, and for a moment, I saw the boy I had grown up with, the one who would always stick up for me, the one I thought I knew. I've been in love with you since we were kids, Emily, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought if I pushed you away, it would protect us both. I froze, his words hanging in the air like a fragile glass ornament, waiting for someone to shatter it. You love me, I echoed, disbelief washing over me. And you thought the best way to show that was to date someone else? I was scared, he admitted, running a hand through his hair, visibly agitated. Scared of ruining what we had. I thought if I kept my distance, you'd find someone better. And instead, you just hurt me, I retorted, tears of frustration pooling in my eyes. You think that's love? Keeping secrets? Lying? Before he could respond, a loud knock on the door interrupted us. My heart sank as I exchanged a glance with Jake, both of us instantly aware of the tension that had built up in the room. Who is it? Jake called out, his expression shifting to one of anxiety. It's Mia, came her voice from the other side, tinged with an unsettling cheerfulness. I have something you both need to see. My stomach twisted as I exchanged a worried glance with Jake. What does she want? I whispered, panic rising within me. I don't know, he replied, his brow furrowing. But whatever it is, it can't be good. Before I could react, Mia pushed the door open, her expression a mixture of triumph and mischief. In her hand, she held her phone, the screen brightly lit. I recorded something today, she announced, a smirk playing on her lips, and I think it might be useful for both of you. What did you record? I asked, my voice trembling as dread pooled in the pit of my stomach. Oh, just a little conversation about secrets, she replied, her eyes glinting as she stepped further into the room. "About how you two were sneaking around behind my back. You should really see it. It's quite revealing." The realization hit me like a cold wave, and for a moment, I felt frozen. Everything was about to unravel, and the weight of it suffocated me. Jake's expression mirrored my horror, as we both faced the impending storm together. The fragile bond we had begun to form was now teetering on the edge of destruction, and all I could do was brace myself for the fallout.